Hello everybody, Nyan does. How you doing? Hope you're still good. I'm going to talk a little bit about the timeline of for Afghanistan and the withdrawal. I'm going to do a little summary at first, a little overview at first, and then we'll get into dates. Okay? Are you with me? If you like these videos, give us a thumbs up. If you love your family and friends, share it with them, and please leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. Okay, let's get into this. Both Biden and the Mango Moose Knuckle wanted to get out of Afghanistan and end what Biden referred to as America's longest war. I'm going to be doing some reading off paper because it's a lot of information that this old brain doesn't retain anymore. In February 2020, when the Moose Knuckle negotiated withdrawal from the Taliban, they excluded the quasi-democratic Afghan government. He had 5,000 jailed Taliban soldiers and set an end date of May 1st, 2021. Now, Trump reduced U.S. troops from 13,000 to 2,500, even while the Taliban continued to pummel Afghan government forces and welcomed al-Qaeda terrorists into the Taliban leadership. Now, Biden and his incoming administration were barred from getting any intel briefings or anything during Trump's $7 million vote loss and incessant lies, whining, and hateful rants. He didn't govern or lead the U.S. and didn't lead them at all since he lost his election, except to pardon guys like Bannon, Mr. Flynn, and Kushner's crooked father there. Now, Biden managed to delay the withdrawal until August 31st, despite signs that the Taliban wasn't obeying the Trump agreement and their mission. So, to have a hardcore Islamic government, even if it meant continuing the war to achieve our goal, Joe did not, at the time, believe the takeover was inevitable and denied that U.S. intel assessed that the Afghans would, the Afghan government would collapse, but it did, and super fast. So here's the dates. On February 29th, 2020, Trump and the Taliban signed an agreement and set the terms of withdrawal, but did not release two classified annexes that set the conditions for U.S. withdrawal. They're probably in his boxes in his shitter. Trump says the Taliban's actions against al-Qaeda and other terrorists who could threaten us, he said at CPAC. U.S. withdrawal, however, occurred despite the fact that the Defense Department Inspector General told him that the Taliban works with al-Qaeda. And he still to this day says that he got rid of al-Qaeda and all this stuff. He didn't. March 1st, 2020, President Ashraf Ghani objected to the provision of releasing those 5,000 Taliban prisoners. The Afghan president said freeing Taliban prisoners is not under the authority of America, but the authority of the Afghan government. There has been no commitment for release of these 5,000 prisoners. And that's because Trump did the back-end deal and didn't include the government because he thinks he's a little dictator. March 4th, 2020, Mark Milley tells the Senate Armed Services Committee that the Taliban pledged in the classified docs not to attack U.S. troops and coalition forces or launch high-profile attacks, including on 34 provincial capitals. All members of Congress have all the documents associated with that agreement. The Taliban attack of Afghan forces in Helmand, and the U.S. responded with an airstrike. Now, March 10th, under pressure from Ashraf Ghani, he ends up ordering the release of 1,500 prisoners at 100 a day for 15 days. May 19th, the DOD Inspector General cuts U.S. troop level by 4,000 while the Taliban escalated violence. Between January 1st and March 31st, U.S. reduced troops from 13,000 to 8,600, even though they were still getting pummeled by the Taliban. So who's committing most of the murders there? The Taliban on American and allied soldiers. August 18th, from April 1st to June 30th, the DOD said the Taliban did not uphold their agreement, and they hadn't since even before they signed it, to distance themselves from terrorist organizations in Afghan. The UN said the Taliban was still supporting al-Qaeda and in fact were conducting joint attacks against the Afghan forces. And if a couple Americans got in the way, so be it. August 29th, unbeknownst to most Taliban leaders, they secretly met Trump wanted most of the Taliban leaders to secretly meet at Camp David. September 3rd, 2020, Afghanistan released the final 400 prisoners. Crazy. September 12th, 2020, Afghan government and Taliban reps meet in Qatar for peace talks. U.S. Taliban agreement says the first peace talks are to begin March 10th. September 16th, 2020, the Taliban attacks 3 provinces across the north, killing 17, all while peace talks in Doha, Qatar are taking place. September 18th, 2 days later, 2020, Trump praises the Taliban. We're dealing with we're dealing very well with the Taliban. They're very tough, they're very smart, and they're very sharp. But, you know, it's been 19 years, and even if they're tired of fighting, in all fairness, so are we. Fucking hell. He says these words to every political enemy. He says the same thing about Putin, about Xi, about Kim Jong-un. He says the same goddamn things. Now, November 16th, 2020, Marco Rubio warns a Saigon-type situation with a rapid withdrawal. Mitch McConnell said a rapid withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan now would hurt our allies and delight those who wish us harm. Did Trump give a shit? No. He wanted them out by May 31st. November 17th, 2020. Acting Secretary Christopher Miller, who is still in power, announces U.S. will reduce U.S. forces to 2,500 by January 15th. They're doing all this just as they're walking out the door. Against 5,000 newly freed, pissed off Taliban and al-Qaeda prisoners that are now fully up and running and taking over Afghanistan from the north southward and escalating distressingly high levels of violence. December 2nd, 2022, or 2020 rather, Afghan and Taliban agree on a framework to the peace negotiations, all while violence is escalating with the Taliban violating the withdrawal agreement with al-Qaeda and getting leadership positions in the Taliban command structure. January 15th. Okay, this is where DOD Miller. Today, U.S. force levels in Afghanistan is now 2,500 members, the lowest level since 2001. And that's not a good thing with the violence that was continuing to go on and attacking people. Afghan's first vice president tells the BBC, the Trump administration made too many concessions to the Taliban. I am telling the United States as a friend and an ally that trusting the Taliban without putting a verification mechanism is going to be a fatal mistake. Violence will spike, and with Trump getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released from prison, violence has spiked. February 19th, now Biden's in. Biden says my administration strongly supports the diplomatic process that's underway and bring an end to 20 years of war. We remain committed to ensuring that Afghanistan never again provides a base for terrorist attacks against the United States or our partners and our best interests. So yeah, that's what went on there. So who's more culpable? Is it Joe Biden that was, 7 months in government when he had to pull out? He tried to get September 11th, but that didn't go too well. He had to move it up because of the escalating violence and trying to get all these people out that they wanted to help. I'm sorry that not everybody got out, but Trump was the one that set that whole machine in motion. I'm just saying. It's a sad situation, it really is. And they're still trying to get those people that want to come out. Is that a leaf on my hat? Yeah, I got a leaf. So anyway, Night and loves you. Don't forget to subscribe. Be good to you first. Mwah! One more to go.